time they lose a game and they have to choose. And certainly when it comes to playing Daybreak, it feels like the metagame is kind of set. You're going to play very passively. You're not going to really try to hit any crazy timings. Usually going to go up to 3 bases and play late game Roach, Hydralisk, and Fester. How do you feel about that line of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably one of the best maps for the Roach opening, which has a lot of ways you can fork out of it. Just because your third is, it's really a defensive third. It's not towards your opponent's base at all. It's really tucked back on the side of your map, and it's just a nice. The layout of your side of the map is just basically really nice to defend. It definitely gives a defender's advantage kind of feeling, and I would say the tech choice of Lair to not take advantage of a defender's advantage. I guess that's kind of the best way I can say it here. I don't know. But Mutalisks definitely don't take advantage of the defender's advantage. They're more or less the aggressive unit. So this map, I feel, caters to the Roach style a lot more than you can still do the Muta transition, but I feel like it's more of a Roach-based map.
We do have Stephano, the pink Zerg player, spawning in the top right-hand corner of Daybreak, and Dimaga, the red Zerg, down in the bottom left. Teams MTW and teams EG, respectively, represented here in this matchup. Now, both guys going to go hatch first here. I think this is obviously the norm on Daybreak. But Stephano, he's getting a little bit greedy here, Vibe. He's gone up to 16 drones before he drops that spawning pool. Dimaga went 15 hatch, 15 pool. Do you really think there's any difference in how early or late you squeeze out that spawning pool?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like I'm in heaven when I play against a Zerg who goes for a 15 hatchery, 16 spawning pool, and I'm doing my classic 10 pool, 10 gas baneling bust. I've actually been doing that a lot lately because so many people play like this, and it's pretty much an auto win. Just because like your banelings and Zerglings hit when the pool is not even like halfway done. So it's really risky, but that just shows you that both these players feel comfortable with each other, and they both think that this is just going to go towards a macro game. So both of them just tended to be a little bit more on the greedier end, which is going to pay out for both of them since they're both being greedy.
Both guys are getting their gases. They'll get Zergling speed. They'll probably get defensive banelings. For a while, it was in vogue to delay gas and just kind of do the whole queen defense and maybe a couple spine crawlers. Why are players moving away from that?
The main reason why the late gas is no longer as popular as it was, let's say, a little while ago, is just because when you take that late gas and your Zergling opponent or your Zerg opponent scouts that, it tells your Zerg opponent that has a gas that he can't be attacked at all for a long time because there's no form of aggression that the gasless Zerg is going to be able to do. So that pretty much just opens up a option where the Zerg who has the gas can just take a really fast third faster than he normally would, and you can even stop mining your own gas at that point and just drone like a madman and just get insanely ahead in the economy department, even though you're the one who took the gas, because the Zerg who did not take gas he's pretty much stuck back on 2 bases because he has no real option to safely take a third or do anything beyond that.
Baneling nest down on both sides, as we will be seeing super standard play, Vibe.
Yeah.
Stephano's mining gas still with 3 drones. Dimaga also mining gas still with 3 drones.
There is a pretty big deviation already, though. Stephano has gone for a spine crawler really early, whereas Dimaga has decided to play a little bit riskier, and he made probably about 9. He squeezed out about 9 more drones than earlier than Stephano did to make that spine crawler, which goes to show you that both of these players are probably going to be going for either a really high economy aggression into like a third, or they're both going to be teching pretty fast. But Dimaga in this situation is a little bit ahead because he squeezed those drones out just a little bit faster.
Stephano is getting a very fast layer, also adding 2 more gases in his natural. Right away, I have to feel like this is telling us that he wants to play mutas. Dimaga is kind of following suit here, going up to 4 gas as well. Hasn't started his layer yet, but both these guys are kind of gearing up for big mid-game gas economies.
Yeah, I could definitely, they're both going layer now. Stephano's is about 35 seconds ahead, and I could easily see both of them taking a third here pretty soon and maybe pushing out a big round of lings to just kind of secure that and poke around and have maybe that little micro mid-game battle where you can try to deny your opponent's third and maybe get some nice economic damage. But it looks like both of them right now are, actually, as I was about to say, they're both probably going to go for mutas. Stephano throws down a Roach Warren, so we might see some fast infestors out of Stephano.
Dimaga did make that swell of Zerglings that you talked about. That's going to allow him to take a little bit of map control. Here we see him just kind of pushing out on the map. That's not... it's not game-ending amounts of lings by any stretch. And Stephano, he's seen this with his overlords. He's making some Zerglings of his own. And as you said, Vibe, he is going to be going with the Infestation Pit tech.
Yep. And as you can see, too, with Dimaga, right, he makes these lings to secure that third because you have two ways to secure that third if you make a round of lings. You can use them defensively if you know your opponent is out on the map. That way you can just defend the attack that'll come at it. Or you can keep your opponent on his side of the map in the defensive stance, and that'll just allow your expansion to get up safely in that regard as well.
Either way, Dimaga does more or less safely secure this expansion. Wow, he's going to morph a lot of Banelings here. And Stephano's looking for these units. He's going to find them, and now he's going to choose to gamble a little bit. No, he actually pulls off, not knowing when those Banelings are going to finish. Oh, Dimaga, this is bad news.
Yeah.
Oh, and that actually works out pretty well. Splits up, cancels a couple of the Banelings, and does get out of there with all of his Banelings. Stephano doesn't have any more Banelings back at home. He's morphing a few, but Dimaga could do some serious damage in the meantime. Here comes these Banelings. The Zerglings going down, drones dancing around, all about Micro right now, and actually that was pretty well handled by Stephano.
Yeah, so far only 2 drones have gone down, and the attack for the most part has been cleaned up. A few remaining Zerglings, little rogue Zerglings here running around, but one thing he did accomplish, even though he didn't kill a lot of drones, is he did deny the third that was just thrown down by Stephano. So he is now ahead in the base department, and now we're just going to have to see what Dimaga can get done with these Mutalisks, because the Spire is almost done. But the problem he's going to have to run into here is that the pathogen glands for the infestors is already finishing right now, and the infestors, there's already a few infestors on the way. So if basically Dimaga's going to have some fancy flying to get something done here.
Yeah, he's going to walk in here with a few more Banelings, but Stephano's first infestor is about to pop out, and they're going to make any kind of aggression difficult for Dimaga. Baneling, Zergling, Muta, you name it. Infestor's good against it all, which is why they're such a core mid-game unit for Zerg players in this matchup. Here we see some more Baneling action. Good control on both sides, but Dimaga just going to try to brute force it. Great fungal by Stephano. And this is going to allow him to clean up just about all of these Banelings.
Yeah. And once again, he's actually using this opportunity to push. When he pushes Stephano back into the natural, he's actually denying the third again. So even though he is, I feel like he's investing a bit much into these attacks where he's making a ton of Banelings and he's using a ton of gas to pretty much just deny the third. It's actually working out because even though Dimaga doesn't have his third saturated yet, he still does have it, so he has the base lead.
The Zerglings are getting in everywhere right now. This is actually getting kind of scary for Stephano. More roaches are popping out. Something that's really brilliant about Dimaga's play is he's forcing Stephano to use the energy on these infestors, so they're not going to have energy for fungal now that the mutas are out. And Stephano in serious trouble right now. Dimaga just raining down on this natural expansion. Has been more or less completely evacuated. Immediately Stephano starts producing a couple more infestors, but he's going to take more heavy losses here. And with no third base in sight for Stephano, he's basically got one small window, Vibe, where he's got to do some game-ending amounts of damage.
Yeah, and I feel like either Stephano felt like there was so many Banelings made that the mutas were going to come later than they actually are, or he might have felt like Dimaga might have even just been all-inning him, because as far as his vision goes, he hasn't actually scouted the Spire yet. So I feel like these mutas this early was just a little bit of a surprise to him, which is why he's getting caught so off guard here. And these mutas are doing almost near game-ending damage, and it's really, really a good, smart use of the mutas by Dimaga.
Yeah, finally some Spore Crawlers do finish, and Dimaga not paying attention to his mutas is going to lose a lot of them to these spores and has no choice finally but to evacuate. One more fungal does land. That's going to kill at least 2 more Mutalisks.
Yep. And while the mutas have been kind of getting cleaned up in the main of Stephano, Stephano actually did a nice counterattack, and no drones were killed, but he did manage to kill Dimaga's third. So if Dimaga can clean this, or if Stephano can clean this attack up and remake a round of drones, the game will be kind of even footing, I guess.
It's going to be tough, though. There are still Zerglings in Stephano's base. He's brought his roaches all the way back home. Mutas are kind of pecking away at him.
The natural.
Wow, the natural falls. Dimaga, great play here. This is a very sort of fast-paced, exciting playstyle that we're seeing out of Dimaga. Maybe a different take on that big mid-game Baneling aggression. Stephano taps out. Well played, he says, and Dimaga takes game number 1. Okay, so I've seen Zerg players go up to a pretty solid 2.5 base economy and then go for heavy Baneling aggression. We talk about Targa because he does it a lot. Dimaga did something like that, but he was teching behind it and adding in mutas as well. Have you seen that kind of a play style before, and what is the real key to making it work?
It's definitely pretty unique. I haven't seen it executed in that kind of a form. Like, if I was playing against that strategy, I would have literally thought that he was either all-inning me or he's made so many banelings that there's no way mutas are on the way this early. So that was definitely unique, and I feel like the way to defend that is just make an overseer right as you get layer, just to kind of confirm his current timings on his tech choices. And if you see the Spire, you need those spores in place, and maybe make a couple, I don't know, maybe make a few more roaches earlier, and maybe a few less infestors. Maybe rely on like 2, just because he's not going for the really fast swing of mutas. And he's going for the really fast or a really high amount of banelings rather than the mutas so quickly. So I would say a little bit more roaches maybe might spread out. You can deal with it a little bit easier than just kind of skimping on it and going for pure infestor.
Stephano's build looked like that 4 infestor timing you were talking about. Is that exactly what he was aiming for?
Yeah, that's that build he was doing is pretty standard. It's an infestor opening, and then you follow it up with a 3rd then. And then if he was going for the versus the standard mutalisk, all he would have to have done is creep spread to the 3rd, get a few queens out to help cover individual mutas that would try to eat fungals just by themselves. And then you have the infestors there to lock down the mutas if they come in clumps. So it definitely, he was doing a nice counter to the standard mutalisk style, but that was pretty unique by Dimaga and pretty clever and just really well executed, I guess.
Really exciting play from Dimaga there in game number 1. That game brought to you guys by Stamps.com. Hassle-free postage from your PC. Head over to nasl.tv/p/stamps for a special stamps promotion. We're going to take a very short commercial break. We'll be back with game number 2, Stephano versus Dimaga, after this.